What if 40% of your staff walked out this year? Not because of pay, but because of poor leadership and chaotic rostering. That's exactly what happened at my previous workplace on Norwegian Cinema. And this case inspired me to explore how system thinking and leadership theory can reduce staff turnover and build trust. And the issue wasn't individual performance, it was the system. We faced unpredictable rostering, inconsistent leadership, and constant burnout. And the turnover reached between 35 and 40%, which is similar to the Australian hospitality sector. And without predictable structure and supportive leadership, people lost motivation and trust in the organization. And through both theory and observation, I found out that real barriers were systematic and not personal. Transformational leadership highlighted how empathy and shared purpose could build engagement, and same goes with the self-determination theory that showed that autonomy and connection drive motivation. And by using Checkland's soft systems and Gregory's stakeholder framework, I mapped out how weak communication and poor feedback loops reduced autonomy and trust. And in short, the problem wasn't people, it was the system. And changing that structure became the ethical and sustainable path forward. And this situation represents a wicked problem, a complex challenge with no single fix. There's no perfect solutions and only continuous improvement. And the goal, therefore, is not to fix people, but to improve the system that shapes their experience so it doesn't just repeat itself. And here you can see the overall framework. This is my 6-month plan for change, and it's built around 4 connected phases that move from understanding the problem to embedding sustainable leadership practices. And it also begins with the diagnosis phase, and it is using surveys and interviews to define the key causes of dissatisfaction. And when it comes to leadership development, where managers build empathy, communication, and trust through short workshops. Next up is digital rostering. We're using the app Deputy to ensure transparent scheduling and fairness. And finally, feedback and evaluation to make learning continuous and measurable. And unlike traditional change plans that typically focus on competence or one-off training, this design emphasizes adaptability and shared accountability. And it also recognizes limitations and that culture doesn't change overnight. It is by aligning leadership, autonomy, and communication, and the system itself becomes more resilient. And this plan therefore translates theory into practice, but also tests how far theory can realistically go in messy human workspaces. And here is the detailed version. Each phase includes measurable targets, timelines, and risk management. And for example, leadership training is evaluated by self-assessment growth, while rostering success is measured through a 3% reduction in complaints. And the focus is also data-driven improvement and not by assumptions. And this plan works because it applies system thinking, recognizing that leadership, communication, and rostering are interconnected. And it also reflects the wicked problem approach, changing the system and not blaming the individuals. It builds on a continuous learning culture, using feedback and reflection cycles to sustain its progress. And this plan has been refined through theory and feasibility, because it isn't only about it is not only about what works in theory, but what can be applied in practice, which is the most important thing. And critically, this model moves beyond one-off interventions. It creates a feedback-driven loop where leadership development and rostering evolve together, which is a key principle of sustainable organizational learning. And if this plan fails to deliver measurable results, it will still be valuable because it tells us that the system needs to be redefined and not abandoned. And in soft system thinking, failure is feedback. And from this analysis, I developed 4 practical recommendations, and each supported by equal theory and evidence. First, we have leadership capability. Should be prioritized through targeted workshops that build trust and empathy. And second, transparent rostering systems such as Deputy allows staff to see and control their own schedules, simple but like powerful shifts. Third, embedding monthly pulse check-ins creates space for feedback and reflection. And finally, progress should be measured and shared openly, so improvement becomes a shared responsibility and not a top-down process. In the long term, embedding feedback and rostering reviews ensures that improvement becomes cultural and not project-based. In both Norway and Australia, I've seen how trust makes or breaks a workplace. Strong leadership isn't always about managing, it's about trust. And at its core, the plan is about fairness and trust and values that go beyond efficiency. And because when systems are fair, people don't just stay, they grow. And thank you so much for listening. Here are my references.